Hey guys, it's Daniel. I am back to do another video, and I'm gonna do a video and talk about and remember legendary rapper Tupac Shakur. He died on this day, September the 13th, 1996. So it's been 29 years since he died. As we all know, he was shot four times, September the 7th of 1996 in Las Vegas, and yeah, he died this day, September the 13th, 1996. Tupac Shakur, what more can you say about Tupac Shakur? Tupac Shakur is one of the greatest rappers of all time to ever touch the mic. I mean, he was a great guy. He was a motivator. He talked about a lot of injustice that us black people go through, and really, really was just a great rapper. He gave us so many hits. I mean, with California Love and Changes, which is one of his best songs. I mean, the song he did for his mom, Dear Mama, which is one of his greatest songs because, he talked about how much he loved his mom, had a great relationship with his mom. Unfortunately, I don't have a great relationship with my mom, and you guys can take a look at my video on my family where I talk about my family and I talk about that in depth. But I love that song he did for his mom, Dear Mama, which is one of his greatest songs and a very touching song that he did for his mom. And he had so much love and admiration for his mother, which was great. He came out in, I think around 1991, just started putting out albums. You know, the first song he came out with was actually called Trapped, which is very ironic because he talked about police brutality. He talked about how the police, you know, arrested him one time because he was jaywalking, and I think they were just jealous of his success, and they didn't like the stuff that he was saying, so they just were just messing with him that day on purpose, just to annoy him. So that was his first, song that he came out with, and he just started putting albums out. He did a lot of movies. He did a movie that with Janet Jackson, Poetic Justice, which was pretty good. He did another movie that I really love. I think probably one of his best films called Juice. It stars Omar Epps, and just he played this kind of bad guy kind of role, which definitely, which definitely suited Tupac. So that's probably one of my favorite films from him, and I'll probably do a review of that film one day, and take a look at it one day and do a review on it. He was just a great rapper. You know, a lot of times he did say some stuff that was not good. He had a little bit of an attitude problem. Sometimes he would spit on people, which I didn't like. He was a little bit cocky at times, but you know, he was making a lot of money, so had a little bit of an ego, which I mean, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, he gave us great music. He taught us to love each other. He really loved his black people and stood up for us. You know, for the injustice that we've had against each other. Against white people and so forth. And you just don't get rappers like him anymore. You just don't get people like him anymore that really rap about stuff. He did one song called "Keep Your Head Up." He did which is another great song. Just telling women to keep their head up and to keep going in life. And one of my favorite albums from him is probably "Me Against the World." I mean, it had a lot of great hits from him. I mean, had this song "If I Die Tonight," which he was just spitting raw. He was just spitting hard, and probably one of his best songs in terms of flow. He was just flowing on that shit. And he was just talking about he wasn't afraid to die and he was ready for it. Tupac was one of those people that he didn't fear death because he talked about just death on a lot of his songs. He talked about dying on a lot of his songs, which is kind of sad. But I think Tupac knew that, you know, because he lived this thug life as he proclaimed. He lived a hard life. He didn't have a dad to raise him. He was raised by his mother. She was a single mother raising him. He had I think a brother and a sister, so he did have siblings, but he was on the streets, and it was rap music that really got him off the streets and really made him a star and made him successful. And of course we know he signed with Death Row with Suge Knight around 1995, and there was this East and West Coast beef, which to me is just kind of stupid. Him and Biggie and P Diddy, they had this feud on which coast is better, the East Coast, the West Coast. The whole thing. When you really look at it, is stupid. It's like, what was the point of it? All these guys, Biggie, Tupac, they were both making great music. They were both from the streets. They both wanted to get out of the streets. They both wanted to live a better life, which they did. So I thought the whole thing was just stupid and dumb. And yeah, just sad how he died. Tupac died. He was 25. He, I would have loved for him to live a longer life. It would have been great to see what he would have done in the music business today and what his life would have been today. He would have been one of the biggest stars in rap if he lived a longer life. I don't even think there would be any Drake or Lil Wayne or a lot of these guys if Tupac was alive. You know, so Tupac is one of the greatest rappers of all time. A lot of people say that Eminem is right up there with him. A lot of people say that Eminem is pretty similar to him. A lot of people say that Eminem is the greatest, and Eminem is great. I love Eminem, but Eminem couldn't top Tupac. I mean, Tupac was just so iconic, and the raps that he rapped and the message that he spoke about us loving each other and being there for each other. Him doing a song again, talking about how much he loved his mother, you know. So it just very sad that he didn't live a long life, but he did left an impact in rap and music as a whole. Because people still talk about him even today, after even 29 years after his death. People still talk about Tupac. People still play his music. People still love what he did for the culture of rap. So his legacy is always going to be here. Physically he's not here, but his legacy is always going to be here. So, R.I.P. to you, Tupac. I love you. I miss you. We all miss you. Love you. We all hope you're in a better place. Again, I'm an agnostic, so I don't know what it is after we die, but I hope you're in a better place. Your music and your legacy will live on. You left us great music. You taught us to love each other and to inspire one another. And I really love you, man. I really miss you. And, I just hope you're at peace. His mom died too. I hope she's at peace. I hope they're both at peace. And yeah, this is just my kind of tribute to Tupac, and just a very sad day. 29 years ago today that he died. So next year is going to mark 30 years. So RIP to you, Tupac. We all love you, and we all miss you. So like and comment, and give me your thoughts on Tupac and your favorite songs about Tupac. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.